this classic old Mexican bolero, Bésame Mucho, one of the greatest songs ever written. What we're going to do here is learn how to play the melody, what the chords are, and see if we can put them together to match where you're at right now. Okay, this song is in the key of D minor. That means all the B's are flat. There's some harmonic minor things happening here. There's also some interesting theory stuff, secondary dominance, things like that. Usually when you hear this song performed, it starts with this vamp. That's where we just kind of mess around on a couple of chords, and it's usually whatever the opening chords of the song are. So the song begins with a D minor chord to a G minor chord. And if you have trouble barring, that is not so inviting, right? But we can play it like this, a minor 6 chord, and that's a real nice sound there. So the way that I started it here at the beginning was that kind of thing. I went right into the melody though, but it would be cool if you went D minor to G minor 6 is the name of that chord. Any way that you want to play D minor, and any way that you know how to play G minor 6, just back and forth, 2 beats each. And by the way, at the end of the song, I did my own little arpeggio on those same 2 chords. Right, so you can get as fancy as you want if you know what those 2 chords are and if you know some of those arpeggios. So that's the way the song begins. Let's look at just the melody now and set the chords aside for a moment. It's going to start on a D note, and it's going to climb up the D minor scale. Okay, then we have some triplets here. That's an interesting thing. A lot of these old Mexican boleros, you hear that triplet sound a lot. And in this song, it's all over the place going. And then back to A here. So the notes there are D, E, F, G, A, B flat. You would expect C next, but it's C sharp. That's the harmonic minor scale, and that fits over that A7 chord. So it's really a melody that is matching the chords, right? All the way up to E and then come down to A. So what we're going to do is just take this phrase by phrase. I'm not going to show you the melody of the entire song yet. I want to show you how you can put the chords over it, okay? So a great way to start with a chord melody is doing just the melody and just the low note of the chord and then filling in the gaps later on. So we can go like this. G in the bass because of the G minor chord, and then we have G minor chord again. The melody is A to G, so just, if you don't want to bar it, just play this low G and go. Okay, then we have G again in the bass, and we go. The chord now is C minor, and that's an interesting choice because C minor really isn't in the key of D minor. So this is almost like, just for a moment, it's the 4 chord from G minor. So a little bit of modal interchange there, but you know, don't get hung up on the chords. So over this A note, we have a C minor chord. To be exact, that's a C minor 6 chord. Maybe I'm nerding out too hard on the chords. Nerd! So we're going. I'm barring it now. That's going to be handy later on when we want to put the chord in there, if you want to do that. And then we have, go back to G because it's a G minor chord again, and then A in the bass. Remember I said it was an A7 chord? And the A7 resolves to D minor, so this A note in the melody is with D. So if we were just going to play the chords, maybe we wanted to sing it, we would go like this. D minor to G minor, back to D minor, da da da, G minor, 3, 4. There's 2 measures of G minor right there. G minor again, triplet, C minor, back to G minor, A7, and then D minor again for 2 measures. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, if you wanted to add more notes from the chord, we can go. See, the melody was just Bésame, and we have D in the bass, G in the bass, and I'm just doing anything that I can underneath that melody note. So we have, that's a G note, an E note, B flat, and D. Those notes of that G minor 6 I was just playing a second ago. So it fits perfectly into our chord melody there. And then we have, here I said to go like this. Well, if you know a G minor chord this way, we can really just mess around willy-nilly over that chord, just going. That was kind of what I was doing there at the beginning. And then we have, so I'm mixing up, got the melody now. We knew that we had C minor here, so let's put them together, eliminating the string, and I'm just playing a block chord here. Okay, we're back to this. Just grabbing more notes from the chord. A in the bass gives me a moment to get up here. Here's a way to play A7. If you want to add those notes. Up on this E note, sometimes I'll play this diminished 7th thing. I have a whole video on that diminished 7th idea that you can check out. And then back to D minor, just playing a little piece of it here. Pretty easy way to play D minor. You probably know this. You can also do that, which is based on this. But we can use the open D string. I did a little pull off here. I think that sounds really nice. That's a ninth. Okay, one more time. Let's look at what we could say is the first half of the A section. Here I'm just gonna go anything. There's that diminished chord. Just playing with this note, that's the fifth in the chord. But you don't have to know all those intervals and numbers and music theory stuff. Would be great if you did. But just mess around with notes and just see if you can kind of do a little chromatic thing there. That always sounds good on a minor chord, the flat 5, and then coming back. Okay, next part of the song, it goes to this high D note, and then coming back down the scale. So I'm doing the whole melody on the first string so that I have the maximum number of other strings to add in the arrangement if I want to. What happened in the chords there was we were on a D minor chord, if you remember where we left off, and then it went to D7, so that's an odd chord, but that D7 wants to go to G minor, and sure enough, that's the next chord. So the way that I'm gonna play that is just this little fragment of a D major chord coming from what we could call the G form. But if that's new to you or you don't wanna do that, just play the D and the bass, right? But we do lose a little bit of the quality. What's interesting is we went from a minor chord to a major chord, and that made it want to resolve more. Taking it from here again. Here's our D7 chord. It's not really D7 yet. That's why at the beginning of this video, I did that. That's pretty hard to get to. Don't even do it if you don't want to. But I'm thinking of the arpeggio of that D7 chord. This is the G form, right? We could play it. A number of different fingerings and voicings for that. I'm just kind of seeing that in there and just adding these just so your ear can hear, oh, it's a dominant 7th chord. Not that your ear would say that, but we hear there's tension in that, and it wants to go and resolve down here to just did a little embellishment there with a scale note. There's our G minor chord. Now we have this great, awesome ending of the song, which is nothing but triplets, and it's arpeggios of the chord, at least of the D minor chord, going right. At the end, those were scale notes, but at the beginning, it's notes from a D minor chord. So the chords are D minor. Then it goes to E7. What's E7 doing in there? That doesn't belong in the key of D minor, right? Because all the B's are flat, but there's a B natural here. It's because E7 wants to go to A7. Secondary dominant, that's the 5 of the 5. In a lot of traditional songs, those chords do what you want them to do, right? So like A7 really wants to go somewhere, and it does in this song. So let's add some bass notes to this. I'm going to put A in the bass here only because it's in a D minor chord, and that melody happens for the entire measure, whereas in the next part, it's broken up between 2 chords. So I'm going to go D in the bass, doing reverse arpeggio here, A in the bass. This is just 2 ways to play a D minor arpeggio, it's the same 3 notes. And then here, if we want to add more notes from the chord, I'm thinking of E7, so I'm going to put this G sharp note down, get that F note in there, I like to roll into that. My pinky will play that. Important that you leave this down, that we don't hear the open G string. That's important. We went to sound of an E7 chord. Now for this one, I'm thinking A7. We only need this many strings though. And that is the completion of the A section. And the end is like the beginning. We have that little thing that we can vamp on there. If you like this song and would like to learn more about it, I have an entire course in my monthly membership called Bésame Mucho, Building Your Own Solo Guitar Arrangement. I start from the ground up with just the chords, just the melody, just adding the bass notes with the chords, adding some notes from the chords and getting more advanced. I have a simple version, intermediate, and an advanced version, and a whole music theory lesson to talk about all these ideas, secondary dominants and scales, and all the concepts that are happening in this song. Let's look at the B section real quick. The melody is this. And the chords that are happening for that are G minor for a whole measure. 1, 2, 3, 4, D minor. And we have A7, 1, 2, 3, 4, D minor, and that's gonna turn into D7, and we go back again. So that is like encapsulates a little bit of what happened in the A section, just more briefly here. D minor goes to D7, on the way to G minor. So it's really good to start noticing when that secondary dominant thing happens and what that means. I think that's important. I think that helps us learn the song better and memorize it more quickly and know it and retain it for longer. So let's put those two together as simply as we can, just the melody of the B section and the low note, whatever the root is of the chord. So I'm going to bar it now. Then at the end, it goes back to an E7 chord again, then a B flat 7 chord. We didn't expect that. That almost gives you a Phrygian sound. I think of it as a tritone substitution for E7, that B flat note. Okay, and the melody there is going, right? So the E note over an E7, then the F note with a B flat 7, and then an E note again with A7. If you want to just do the bass notes, we would just go 2, 3, 4, and we're back. The rest of the song is the recap of the A section. Let's run through that A section again because that's what happens right now. It's kind of like the C section. We have the A, B, and then C, but C is really the A, and we're going to do a tag ending. If you noticed at the beginning of this video, you can always kind of recap the last refrain or last few measures of a song to kind of tell the listener that we're ending. Just a more dramatic way to kind of bring things home. So we're back to the A section, and I'm going to do a little bit of some fancier things so you can see, you know, what the possibilities are. So this video is all about you learning the melody, knowing what the chords are, and then putting it together the way that you want to and the way that makes sense for your hands. I like to go like this. There's so much time there on the G minor chord. 2 measures, we can go pizzicato muting here, and I like to go. All that is just an arpeggio of the chord. Then we have our triplet thing here. Diminished thing here. Play around with the open string on this D minor chord, or even this thing. Now, you notice me do this. I like to do that too, that B natural note. Gives us a sound of D minor 6th. I mentioned earlier that all the B's are flat in D minor, but it's kind of a jazzy thing to take that one chord and make it a minor 6th. It really kind of floats out there, really nice, mysterious sounding. Then we have our D7 chord. On this part that goes da 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 da, I like to go kind of mess around or even do fourths here. I love that too. You could strum right there if you wanted to slide into this. And that's the whole song, but we can repeat this ending. Here's my little ending, which would also be great for an intro. That is a D minor with a 9th as an open string. I love the way that sounds. And then this G minor chord with the open E is that 6th chord. We played that earlier, but we didn't use the open string for that. And then at the end, I like to do, so many ways to do it. You could just play D minor, but I put a major 7th in there. That's a minor major 7th. It's our James Bond chord. Or you could play a 9th up there. Anything that you want on the end, it ends on a D minor chord. If you want to learn more about Bésame Mucho, check out my monthly membership where I have tons of courses on things just like this and exactly this, where we go step by step all the way through Bésame Mucho and building your own arrangement. And if you like these old Mexican boleros, they're so awesome. Check out this video where I show you how to play one of the best ones ever.